Hello everyone, my name is Brian and welcome aboard the Natural Geekery podcast. As it says right on the label, this is episode 1 of this crazy idea that I am equal parts excited and terrified about. So for episode 1, I want to kind of introduce myself, go over things a bit, give you a decent idea of where we're going to go with this whole project. I had thought about doing an episode 0 and I thought, let's just jump right in and do an episode 1 and cover all that stuff we would have done with the pesky episode 0 and just do it in episode 1. So this is it. I hope you're ready. First off, though this podcast is going to revolve around gaming and role-playing games, that's not its focus. Its focus is going to be about all the other things that come up with and around this gaming that we do. You know, people, stories, creativity, the whole big swirl of things that surrounds us, and I want to dive into what makes us all natural geeks. So for starters, I want to kick off about myself. I'm a geek, go fig, and I've been doing this since a very early age. Sometime around 1978, 79, I stumbled onto Dungeons & Dragons and I never really left. And I'll talk about that more further down in the episode. You know, I love acting, writing, creativity, and of course, role-playing games. In theater, I used to love improvisation exercises. And when I found D&D, it enabled me to couple those two things together on top of loving creating and writing stories. And, well, needless to say, I was everybody's dungeon master and rarely got to play for about the first probably 6 years of my introduction to the gaming hobby. You know, at this point, I'm pretty sure you'd call me a paleo gamer. To all you other paleo gamers out there, represent, high five. We are gamer grognards. We are geek elders. Yeah, hard to believe, right? We won't talk about that too much, but you know who you are. However, the good news is I don't feel old because of the gaming. You know, I think I really feel that gaming has helped keep me very young. So like a lot of us, I've done quite a bit over the years. But probably the most important thing that I want to touch on is that I ran a local game store for about 15 years or so and just threw myself into the joy of running this thing that was selling and putting out the stuff that I love. I would run events. We ran tournaments. We had a blast. There were a lot of ups and downs, and maybe that is fodder for other episodes, some stories of the ups and the downs, but that's for another time. But what I got and came away with that was not only just this knowledge of the industry and this fun that could be had by doing it every day for that many years. I got to know a lot of people that have gone on into the creative industries of gaming, of writing, of all sorts of stuff. And it was such an anchor point for me and sort of a jumping off point into this idea of what gaming was all about. Not just role-playing, but board gaming, role-playing, LARPing, and all of it. I absolutely love this stuff and the magic it creates. And this magic, it's like an alchemical blend of goofy creativity. And that's one of the things I want to be the focus on this podcast. And I hope I can share that as we go on. Part of this hobby is that we are not mainstream. We're outsiders, the nerds, the geeks, and that's changing a little bit. We've come a long way since the day of Chick tracts, right? And the persecution from some religious folks who didn't agree with what we were doing. And, all that stuff that happened in the 80s and 90s and still goes on today. Don't get me wrong. In some communities, it's still there. But it can make things a little tough. And I want to talk about that a little bit. I want to show folks just how many natural geeks are out there. And hopefully it'll help folks not feel so alone on those rough days. For the podcast, I'm going to be having a roundtable mix of different types of episodes for you to enjoy. Starting out, I'm looking out for episodes to be around 15 to 30 minutes. Small snippets, that you can enjoy and it'll be a little bit easier to produce and for you guys to consume and just enjoy on a car trip or commuting or whatever you want to do. If we move on to longer episodes, so be it. But for now, I'll keep them short, keep them sweet. The first kind of episodes are the ones that kind of gave me the initial idea for the podcast itself, and those are going to be audio versions of my original blog posts and any future blog posts that will fit into the format of a podcast. They're going to be pretty straightforward, and they'll be there for folks who perhaps haven't seen my blog yet, or who would like to have an audio version to listen to instead of just reading it on a commute or trying to read it sometime. It's always easier to listen to these things, right? I'm actually going to do the first blog post near the end of this episode, and I'll explain why I'm doing that when I get to it. The other kind of episodes that I'll be doing, I'm going to be having, guess what, newsflash, I'm going to be having a lot of fun here. I hope you guys are down for that. But I'm going to be doing something I'm going to call Letters to Uncle Drake. And they're going to have a nice dramatic flair to them. They're going to be kind of an ongoing storytelling thing that I do that is actually tied to my home D&D game and the character I play there. And when we get up to that moment when I start to do the letters to Uncle Drake, I'll fill you guys in on a little bit more detail when we kick that off. But it's going to give me a chance to exercise my voice acting skills, which is something I do on the side and I'm very happy about. And I like to practice that skill set as much as possible. So that's one reason. The other reason is to just have fun. And I hope you guys enjoy it as much as I've enjoyed being a part of these game sessions and writing them out for you guys to listen to. Okay, so the third type of interview is going to be interview. I spoiled it right there. I spoiled it. The third type of podcast is going to be interviews with other geeks. And this is where I'm hoping we can start to see the commonality and the wonderfulness that we share from being a part of this really cool hobby. It's not my goal to find, famous celebrities and industry insiders and getting the scoop on the down low. I want to hear everyday voices. I want to hear folks that can barely get together to game with their friends over Skype, and you maybe get together once a month. I want to talk to folks that are just starting and you're playing in your parents' basement. Hands up if you did that. My hands up. You can't see it. It's a podcast, but my hands up. We all did these things. I want to talk to folks just like that. I want to talk to you about your awesome critical hits, the troubles you've run into, snags you've run into running a game or playing in a game. And yes, are you ready? I'm even ready to hear your character stories. Tell me about your character. And on top of that, I don't want these to just be hardcore gamers. These are going to be other geeks who maybe only game once or twice a year, but still have that love of all things creative, fun, and magical. The fourth type of episode will be coming on a little bit later. I'm not going to talk about it too much right now, but it's gonna be kind of a mix of the letters episodes as well as running a game. I'm just gonna wait. You're just gonna have to wait. I'm gonna wait. You're gonna wait. I'm gonna be working on it. You're gonna have to wait, and we'll get to it. I think you guys are gonna enjoy it. And it's going to be kind of gaming in real time, but it is going to kind of be an actual play, but it's not. You'll see. And then occasionally some journal episodes where I just kind of yammer into the microphone and talk about things that are going on with the geekery in the world. We'll see how many of those I actually do. But I wanted to mention it because I'm sure they're going to come along. It's my hope as I learn the finer points of podcasting and doing these episodes and stringing them together. And I like to, when I do a project, I kind of like to leave a little bit open to kind of see where it goes and how it grows. We'll just kind of play it by ear, but I would like to shoot for an episode at least every 2 weeks at the most. I really want to shoot for every week, but it might be a little clunky as we get going. So bear with me. And I promise you we'll eventually get up to the one a week schedule. And so I want to wrap things up with me reading the first blog post on my blog, Natural Geekery. And this post is my origin story and will give you, I think, a pretty good foundation of who I am as a gamer, where I'm coming from, and I hope not only give you a really solid idea of why I'm doing all of this. So without further ado, let me just jump into it and read how it all started. The late 1970s were big for me. I had my brain explode twice before 1980. I had grown up with Star Trek episodes, Godzilla movies, Edgar Rice Burroughs, Daniel Boone, and a little-known science fiction show called Space 1999. During the summer of 1977, I had my 11-year-old brain blown by watching Star Wars on the big screen and spent most every weekend afterwards figuring out ways to see it again and again and again and again, and you know the story. At the end of 1979, I went to visit a friend I had not seen in a while. When we lived next to each other, we had spent idyllic summer days in the yard behind his house, chasing frogs and damming up the nearby creek. We played war with little green plastic men. We played cowboys and Indians. We played daring knights and fought off monsters. My parents, unfortunately, had moved from the city now, and we lived 2 hours away in a much smaller town. I'd not seen him for a long time, and was excited to hang out with him again. It was a Christmas-time visit during the holiday break. The weather was cold and somewhat nasty, so we played inside and caught up with each other. For Christmas, his parents had given him some sort of weird new game he was excited about, but which I had never seen. The box for the game was very colorful and featured a wizard and a knight confronting a dragon sitting on a big old mound of gold. It was called Dungeons and Dragons. Sitting on the floor together, my friend tried to explain the game to me and wanted to know if I wanted to make a character. He showed me a handful of very oddly shaped plastic dice. "It'll make more sense if we just play," he said. I didn't understand, but I agreed. He took me through the steps to make a wizard, and we began to play. I entered into a creepy old dungeon and fought 2 rats and later some goblins. I fired off a magic missile for the first time. I found a treasure chest with some coins and a magic wand. Once I realized it was a game of make-believe, I got excited, and my brain exploded for the second time. Then, my parents were coming to get me, and it was time to go. He hurried me out of the dungeon, wrapping up my first adventure. I asked him where he found the game as I rushed to get my coat and shoes on. I needed to find a copy. I needed to know more to play more. What about my wizard? What's going to happen next? I'll use him as a character in the game I play with my older brother. When you come back, you can play him again. My parents were pulling into the driveway. "Where can I find this game? Where did you get it?" "I don't know where my parents got it. I really wanted it and told everyone about it." "But where did they find it?" My parents were coming to the door. There were greetings and hellos. I would have to leave very soon. I don't know, but... And my friend suddenly ran back into his room. He came back carrying a Dungeons & Dragons box set still in its shrink wrap. "Look, I asked for this so much I got 2 copies. We were going to take this one back, but here, I want you to have it." I couldn't believe it. "Really? Are you sure?" My parents were calling me, and it was time to go. It was the holidays, family to visit, meals to eat. He smiled and pressed it into my hands. "Yes, this way when you come back to play again, you'll know what you're doing," and he laughed. I thanked him profusely and left, with my parents back out into the cold December air. He waved to me. I waved to him. "Look what he gave me, Mom. It's really cool. It's a new kind of game." As we drove away, I had the box open and was looking over the items inside, flipping through the book. It was the last time I'd seen my friend. Time passed. We didn't make the 2-hour trip as often. People change. Kids don't really have firm control over their destiny, let alone long drives. Things shift. Life takes you on different turns, and then, before you know it, you've lost touch with someone. That was before the internet and easy communication. I went home and pored over the book. I made a dungeon. I made several characters. It was the holiday break, and at the first opportunity, I had a friend or 2 over, and we started to play. We played very badly, but we played. I discovered that a local hobby shop in my small Indiana town carried some modules and books. Over the next few years, I moved on to Advanced Dungeons & Dragons and became a poster child for the Stranger Things cast. I ran a game. My buddy ran a game. Then another buddy was running a game. We talked about the game during lunch breaks at school. You know how it goes, right? And that's how it all started. From a simple, generous gift came a lifetime of creativity, stories, drawings, maps, friends, adventure, laughter, and fun. A simple act of generosity followed by infinite ripples of effect after effect flowing outward over the decades. That's how I want it to continue. It's the most important part. It's the bottom line behind this entire project and all that I have planned here. It's a gift. I hope you like it. Okay, everybody, that's it. I hope you enjoyed it. There's more to come. Hopefully by subscribing, coming along for the ride, I can share my particular take on all this wackiness, share some stories, give you a little entertainment, a chance to learn a few new things, maybe connect with some other fellow geeks, and most importantly, a chance to come along on this high that I like to call natural geekery. So if it all sounds good, or at least piques your curiosity, click the subscribe button on whatever device or platform you may be listening to this episode on. If you have any questions or comments, fire off an email to me at the show's email, naturalgeekery@gmail.com. If you're feeling brave, want to be interviewed on the show and maybe share your gamer stories with the world, well, send me an email at that same address and we can try to set something up. Thanks everybody for listening to episode 1. I'll see you again in episode 2. This is Brian. You've been listening to Natural Geekery Podcast. I'll see you on the next one. Roll dice, have fun, be good people.